So this will be part 2 of our Microsoft Azure Services tutorial, and as I mentioned, I want to take you a tour through the Microsoft Azure ecosystem of all the services. Some of them not very useful, some of them very useful. So you need to actually know what services are there for you, because you can't be using everything. It's for different areas of our profession. So let's see. I'm actually going to go to all services at this time. And for now, I'm going to take you through this part that says all the services. And later, we are now going to take them one after another. So for instance, I'll take you through compute, tell you what compute, the suite of services under compute. I'll go to networking, tell you the suite of services under there and who is to use it or who it will be useful to. And then we go to storage, to AI, machine learning, and so on. I'll be telling you what this suite of services is all about. And later on, we now start drilling down into one of these services, individual service suites, and drill down into all the services under each of the category of services. So let's start with the first one, compute. Well, the name compute seems, I can say, is kind of misleading because computation kind of refers to algorithms and writing certain codes to actually build some kind of system to perform computation or calculation. But in Microsoft Azure, compute refers to more or less the infrastructure. When we talk about infrastructure, we are talking about the IT infrastructure setup. So we are talking about your servers, you're talking about your domains, your environment, and things like that. So if you want to set up a complete infrastructure as a service in the cloud, instead of to have your own data center, you want to put your own data center, your data center in Microsoft Azure, you'll be able to use compute. You can create virtual machines. You'll be able to create containers. As they say, container services is duplicated. You will be able to write functions that is able to trigger certain other services to execute. And I think I've missed out something. Okay, so I also have batch account, container instances. We have mesh applications, cloud services, Kubernetes for orchestration. We have disks, and we have snapshots, images, and stuff like that. So if you're an infrastructure person, you'll be able to do this. We also have SAP HANA. You can see still in the previous stage. As I mentioned, some of these services are actually screwed up because they are not well documented, and some of them may not actually be useful to you. So compute is mainly have to do with infrastructure or setting up the IT system for your organization. Let's now talk about networking. So this range of services under networking has to do with the routing, the network interaction, the visual network, the DNS, the configuration of security on your network, firewalls and stuff like that. So under it you have reserved IP addresses, you have connections, you have on-premise data gateway. Also take note that you can have using Microsoft Azure, you can actually have 3 different scenarios. You can decide to have completely on-premise system where you don't use Microsoft Azure. You can put everything in Microsoft Azure, but you can also split your data center and put some things there in Microsoft Azure and some on your local on-premise. So in that way, you have to use networking service to be able to do a very good configuration to allow the users to be able to use service on premise and on cloud seamlessly, as if all this is just in one place. So networking is really very good, and you have firewalls configuration and stuff like that. So if you are a Cisco guy, we work with network devices, then this will be for you. So when it comes to storage, so these have to do with disks, RAID, redundancy, reliability, and continuous availability and stuff like that, disaster recovery. So how do you provision your disks or your storage devices so that you have high availability and be able to ensure good backup in case something goes wrong? And one thing that's good about Microsoft Azure is that they have several data centers everywhere, in Africa, in Europe, in America. Everywhere they have data centers. So depending on how much money you want to spend, you can actually create you can actually replicate your data center. If you are using infrastructure on the cloud, you can replicate your data center in different places with a little cost. You'll be able to do that. So there is this argument that putting everything in Microsoft Azure on the cloud instead of having a local on-premise system is better. So for you, what do you think? Do you think it's better to leave everything in the cloud, or do you think you should build your own data center and have everything on premise, right? So yeah, that's leave in the comment below. Let me know what you think on the cloud or on premise, security consideration, availability, and stuff like that. So let me know in the comment box below what you think. So this is about storage, as I mentioned before now. As you can see, there are a whole lot of things. Some of them are redundant, I must tell you. So Microsoft actually screwed up things a bit by creating all this whole lot of services everywhere when they can actually have few services achieving the same function. So in this way, I think what they are trying to do is to trap down everybody in the Microsoft Azure ecosystem so that you actually be there and without having to go to check out other technologies like Amazon or Google Cloud. And I think that is actually not the best way to do it, because in this way, for some seeing all these services it's too much. For many, they don't know how easy. And Azure kind of make things too trivial, too easy, too simplistic, that you don't really need expertise in coding or in application development and stuff like that. You'll be able to use Microsoft Azure services easily. Then we have web. This is good old web application, websites, and stuff like that, things that run on the web. Then we have mobile. The name, I think the name is okay here. The mobile services. So we have under mobile, we also have app services. Actually, under these different categories you see under all services here on the left side, some sub-services repeat themselves. So that is why I say Microsoft should actually review how they arrange the service categories right here. Now, containers are very important because today the application development world or spectrum is moving towards microservices right now. And what we are talking about is that when you build an application, you sometimes generally in conventional application development lifecycle, you build in the development server, move it to some staging environment where you stage it, test it, then move it into production server. But the problem is that when something we move it into production server in a different server environment, when you actually tested your application in your development environment and it was working in your development environment, but when it gets to the server, it doesn't work because that's a different runtime or different platform. Containerization solves this problem completely. So with containers, you can build microservices, put them inside a container, simply hand off this container to the production team or to production, and they simply spin up the container and run this container easily, irrespective of whatever environment they have. So that's about containers. When you see containers, I think they should name it microservices or something. Containers, well, the container is kind of narrowed down because the technology is microservices. All right, so we have databases. Databases talks about data, SQL, NoSQL. So Microsoft Azure supports. Of course, they have their own database, MS SQL. They have Azure Cosmos DB. I think this is an in-memory database. You have SQL database, good old SQL database. And one good thing about Azure is that in case of database, if you are working locally as a DBA using Microsoft MSSS, Microsoft MSMS, I can't remember real the name. So SQL Server Management Studio, that's what I'm trying to say. And actually connect to database on the cloud while feeling that this database is residing on your local environment. So that's one good thing about Azure, because if you are using Microsoft products before now, they are kind of putting they are tightening the noose around your neck so that you will not be able to move out from Microsoft. Like me, that have actually broken this jinx because I've been a Microsoft developer on .NET from Visual Basic way back on days to Visual Basic.NET to C#. Visual Studio has always been my tool of the trade, and I've always used business intelligence, Microsoft Business Intelligence. I've extensively been using SQL Server, but I've actually broke out from this Microsoft cell, if you will, to explore Java, the Spring framework, and other technologies out there. So, but if they continue like this and you are trapped into this Azure thing, well, it's good, but you may not know what good is out there. Analytics is another thing. So if you have used business intelligence, Microsoft in integration services, reporting services, analytics services, and if you have used Power BI, you'll see that we have all these things now on the cloud. So you can easily create reports on the fly easily by creating data cubes, fetching data from different data channels, and in that way you'll be able to create an aggregate or summary reports of your data, create good visualization stuffs to be able to present this data to the business, be able to derive some insight and analytics that will help the business take decisions, even make inference about the future, about from the data, to help drive business needs. So now we go down to AI and machine learning. So this is my area. I must tell you, if you followed my lessons online, you see that I'm an AI guy with focus on machine learning, image recognition, stuff like that. There are a whole lot of things. I've created a few chatbots. I've used cognitive services a lot. So this is about AI and machine learning. If you want to build chatbots, if you want to build conversation engines, language understanding systems, NLP systems, game playing systems, or other intelligence services out there, build a neural network and train the neural network model to be able to use this service. Then we have Internet of Things, IoT. So IoT hub. So have a hub where we have different Internet of Things devices connected to a central hub. This may be your mobile phone, your vehicle, your some devices, medical devices, generating data from patient's health, sending it to a central place. So you can actually hook up several things, even your smart home. If you are in a smart home, hook up your home and devices in your home to a central hub and be able to monitor the metrics or telemetry from all these devices. So we are going to actually do this. I've used Stream Analytics a little bit, so I'm going to tell you about this a little later. Now, mixed reality, this I actually have not really gone through it because it's very, very new. I don't know what they intend to achieve, whether they want to achieve teleportation from Microsoft Azure. I don't know, because they are saying digital twins. I don't know what it is. This, I must confess, I've not used this mixed reality, but I think it's an extension of AI and machine learning where you have heavily dependent on image recognition and computer vision, where they're able to create a hologram or something like that, be able to create visualization of something depending on the geographical location and stuff like that. I don't know, but I'm just guessing. Integration is also a place I've worked extensively. The reason is because my field of study, my research, my doctorate research is enterprise application integration. So you guess right that integration is an area where I fall in completely. All right, so you have logic apps, you have service bus to exchange data between business applications, API management, mainly how to hook up several REST web APIs, be able to create a central repository of APIs, document this API and provision the endpoint so that users can always leverage on these APIs easily without having to write a whole lot of codes. And one thing about Microsoft is they make it so simplistic, and that's why for me, being a tech professional, we kind of don't like something being too simple because we want to use our brain. Because if we can't keep continuing going this way, it means that in time we will not be able to achieve anything. You'll simply be controlled by what you are told, what you see there. But we actually, as a researcher, I go out of the box, go to write my services myself right from the scratch. Instead of using existing services, I write my own services right from the scratch just to see how it is. Although I know about the principle of don't repeat yourself, the principle of don't reinvent the wheel, but we researchers, we need to do it simply to test, to see how services compare, so that if we give business advice to organizations on the technologies and services to use, we know how to advise them correctly. All right, so this is integration services. How do you connect different applications and data sources? And we have identity. So, of course, you know about user accounts. You log into your system in the workplace. The system identifies you. Your data is actually your identity is federated somewhere in some place. So to be able to manage user identity across domains, across forests, across organizations. This is what identity is all about. So security, good old security, security keys, vaults, identity management. So this also relates with identity. That's why I say Microsoft screwed things up by separating things and creating all these so many services when many of them can actually be grouped together, making it easy for users to be able to find their way around. DevOps, yes, how do developers in the development team manage their applications, source control? From there, they do CI/CD all the way to production with no downtime and with continuous deployments, so that application can easily be pushed from development to production with no stress at all in a continuous stream of flow. So there's no need of creating the build separately, transferring the build to somewhere, and then trying to run the build. Everything is done on a DevOps stream. Now these DevOps streams move from production all the way to source control, to testing, to deployment, a continuous stream right there. Migrate also is also an important one. So how do you migrate an application? How do you migrate data from one platform to another, and things like that? And I think this migrate here has to do with your Azure account. I'm using a free account now. I can always move up. I don't know. I've not used this cost management billing before. Management governance, I must say, is also a very pretty interesting place I've not used. But basically, how do you monitor what is happening in your application? How do you visualize in real time the health of your application, the data flow in the application, the generally the life of your application, how the application is doing in terms of resource consumption and in terms of using um, the available resources and stuff like that. So in this way, but the question now is why do we need this when we can automate things? And if you automate things, when things get out of hand, you're able to get notified. Why will you sit down and be looking at a screen and then be monitoring the health of the application via some console out there? So I've not used this completely, but I know what I believe is true, that they actually created so many redundant things simply to be able to trap the users inside their ecosystem right there. In tune. So in tune for education. Actually, I don't know. I must confess, I don't know about Intune. So this is something I'm going to check it up. And in the next lesson, where I'm going to be actually looking at individual services, I'm going to talk about Intune order. So this, yeah, order, we have Spark Post, SAP Monitor, Visual LAN. So redundant things that have been created. I don't know why. So I think they should. I seriously advise Microsoft, if you're a Microsoft personnel, or if you're a Microsoft or employee, or Microsoft operative, listen to me, that you need to rearrange how the services are organized or categorized in your platform. This is messed up. I'm talking from an expert's point of view. And at this point, I'm going to stop here. And in the next part, we are now going to start with the first one. We are going to be drilling down actually be creating some of these things in real time. For instance, virtual machine, I can add and set up actually a virtual machine skill set if necessary. So I'm going to stop here. I'd like to thank you for viewing. Remember to subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button below this video, and also let me know if this has been informative for you, and also like this video, and we see you in the next part.